Week 3 is behind us. Let's turn our attention to week 4. Let's talk 5 moves to make in Dynasty, heading into the 4th week of the NFL season. Move number 1. Let's go out and add Erick All, the tight end from the Bengals. Now, full transparency, I'm recording this Monday morning before the Bengals play Monday night in week 3. But what I saw from Erick All in week 2 is enough for me to say I'm happy to throw him at the end of my bench as an upside tight end for the long term. You're not adding Erick All because I think or you think he's going to be a producer, a weekly starter even in Dynasty this year. I think that is outlandish. It's not realistic. But week 1 to week 2, we saw the role grow. I'm hoping we see that in week 3. And even if we don't, I'm still adding him. Week 1 to week 2, he went from 24% of snaps to 52% of snaps. He went from a 0% target share to an 11% target share. Now, again, very small sample and didn't produce a ton, but they drafted him because I think long term he is expected to be their tight end here. T. Higgins in the future is likely gone. They are probably searching for a second and third option in this offense. And as those roles open up, Erick All may be able to kind of step into that as Joe Burrow continues to evolve as a quarterback, as this offense continues to evolve around its current playmakers. So Erick All, not the flashiest name, maybe not the most exciting by any stretch of the imagination, but he's out there in a ton of leagues and is worth adding because an upside tight end is never a bad thing to have at the back end of your roster. Move number 2, we are going out and we are adding Taylor Heinicke. Just like we did with Malik Willis, just like we did with Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley, Taylor Heinicke is the next backup quarterback that I think is probably going to get some run here. Justin Herbert left the game with a high ankle sprain. Again, he came into the game with a high ankle sprain. He re-aggravates that and was seen in a boot after week 3. Look, is Taylor Heinicke going to be a QB1? No, especially in this offense. They don't want to throw a ton. Does he have the ability and the track record to show he can be a QB2? Absolutely. Given the number of starting quarterbacks that are missing and the number of starting quarterbacks that will miss time this season, Heinicke is probably one of the better backups in the NFL, at least for fantasy. He's been productive. He's had stretches where he's played very, very well. So you could do a lot worse if you're filling in for Justin Herbert and you don't have a QB3 and this is the guy you have to roll with. I think that's going to be fine. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be exciting, but he will get the job done and may not lose you a week, which is really all you can ask for from your backup quarterback. Now, getting into move number 3, let's get away from the waiver wire ads. Move number 3, we're going to sell Alec Pierce. He's done enough through the first 3 weeks that somebody might be out there and think, maybe there's something here. Maybe you can go and get a 3rd round pick for Alec Pierce. And that is beyond worth it to me. On the season, he's averaging 14.5 points per game. Very good. That's exciting. He has 12 targets, 16% target share. In week 3 with Josh Downs back, that drops to a 10% target share. Look, as this offense gets healthy, which it now appears to be, Alec Pierce is going to go back to his role of the deep shot player that might be good for 3 to 5 targets a week. He's not going to be a continual, repetitive producer for fantasy. He's going to be a worse version of Rashid Shaheed potentially, and that's just not a guy I want on my roster, and it's not a guy on any team that's ever going to help you win a title. That's the most important piece here, right? If people are looking and thinking maybe it's a fringe year 3 breakout, I'm going to sell for any 3rd round pick I can get. Selling wide receivers that I think aren't real fantasy producers for picks in general is a good move. Again, if you're starting Alec Pierce on a weekly basis or relying on him in any sort of way, you're not winning a title. I think that's the general consensus in most 10 to 12 team dynasty leagues. So go ahead, sell him, take the pick. Move number 4, I'm selling Quentin Johnston. I'm not buying into this year 2 breakout. It's not for me. It's one I'm going to fall back on reception perception. I'm going to fall back on his abysmal rookie year and say, that's who I think Quentin Johnston is. Through 3 weeks, 19% target share, 3 touchdowns, 13.7 points per game, with a season high yardage of 51 yards. He's still a part-time player. He's still limited as a route runner. He's just happened to find the end zone 3 times. That's fun. That's exciting. It's also fluky. You cannot predict touchdowns. You cannot rely on touchdowns. He's not a high volume player. He's not beating guys deep. He's not adding up a ton of yak. He's not doing much other than scoring touchdowns, which that is great. Like that is exciting. Quentin Johnston looks like he's moving beyond the idea of just a truly useless bust, which is good to see, and entering the territory of solid NFL wide receiver 3 with some wide receiver 2 upside. I'm not in on Quentin Johnston still. Even with that, it's a low volume offense this year. Justin Herbert, like we talked about, is probably going to miss a few weeks. So Quentin Johnston may just come crashing back to earth over the next month here. And this sell window that's, I think, kind of open right now is going to disappear. I'm taking any second, any year for Quentin Johnston. You couldn't get that 3 weeks ago. I think that's realistic now because somebody out there is going to say, look, first round draft capital, he's with the Chargers, weak wide receiver room. Quentin Johnston has a chance still. I'm not somebody that buys into that narrative. So I am selling him everywhere that I wasn't able to sell him before because I think this is an interesting window and the value is going to come back to earth here. Now, our final move of the week, let's get a little bit positive. Move number 5. We are going out and we are buying Caleb Williams. The sentiment around Caleb Williams is he's maybe not a bust, but he's dramatically underneath expectations, which is probably true. But that means people are getting skittish in Dynasty. It always does. Let's just get the bad out of the way because there's been plenty of bad from Caleb Williams to start his career. 5 turnovers in 3 weeks. He's led 3 touchdown drives. He had less than 200 yards passing in 2 out of 3 starts. And the Bears' offense is just trash. It's terrible. It has been a genuine displeasure to have to watch that every single week. But in week 3, we saw the ceiling. Okay, we saw what he could be. 364 passing yards. He threw 51 times, which you don't really want your rookie quarterback doing that, but he produced. And then on top of that, 2 touchdowns. He finally got his first 2 passing touchdowns, both in the fourth quarter, both short touchdowns. He led multiple drives inside the 5 this week, 3. They had 2 chances at a field goal. One of them was missed. The offense could have done much better this week. The 3 turnovers are what kill you. They break your back. But he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. We've seen a good amount of growth from him from week 1 to week 3. And when you factor in the rushing upside, it's there. 380-yard pace through 3 weeks. So the passing ceiling, we've seen it. The rushing floor is there. I'm still buying Caleb Williams in Dynasty pretty heavily, and I'm paying up to go get him. I'm giving up multiple firsts without thinking about it in Superflex leagues. People may be trying to sell, maybe not low, because I don't think anybody in the right mind is selling low on a rookie quarterback of his stature, of his caliber through 3 weeks. But maybe there's a window where people are maybe a little more willing to give him up because he hasn't, exploded onto the scene like a lot of people expected. I'm guilty for pushing that narrative. I thought it was going to be much better. But we've seen the tools. You've seen the progression. You're not buying high. You're not buying low. You're just kind of buying Caleb Williams. Multiple firsts is going to be the floor to buy him. I'm paying that price.